It was a quiet morning as you sat on the couch in the living room enjoying your morning tea. Your husband was still asleep upstairs in the bedroom. Husband, your lips curved into a bashful smile at the thought of him. You both had been married for 2 weeks. Though it was an arranged marriage, a ritual that usually happened in the families of the underworld, you had already developed a sort of softness towards him. Your husband Jungkook was not only powerful but intimidating, respected, and feared by everyone. Yet when he came home to you, he was simply Jungkook, the man who, beneath layers of hardened resolve, harbored a soft spot only for his newly wedded wife. His flirty remarks and teasing smiles never failed to make your heart skip a beat every single time. Whenever he was around, he made sure your cheeks hurt by blushing too much. Thinking of the devil decided to make his appearance in the living room. You heard his heavy footsteps resonating through the living area, disturbing the quietness of the vast mansion. You took a deep breath, bracing yourself before glancing at him. As your gaze wandered over to him, your eyes enlarged slightly. You slowly took in his appearance and gulped inaudibly. He was shirtless, looking entirely too comfortable in his home. Your eyes raked over the taut lines of his back and shoulders. Heat rose to your cheeks, shading them slightly pink. The room suddenly felt too hot. From the corner of his vision, Jungkook noticed your gaze stuck on his back, staring intensely. His lips quirked into a proud smirk. Of course it was intentional. He had been doing it since last week. The first time it happened was accidental. He had rolled off the bed and sauntered into the living room barely awake, completely forgetting that his muscles were on display. But someone else noticed him, his wife. He remembered how you were frozen on your spot, eyes wide and tracing along his torn body. Moreover, he noticed how your expression suddenly turned annoyed when you noticed the maid stealing glances at him. He loved that look of yours, nose crunched and brows creased in furrows. He looked adorable. That day he didn't say anything, just mentally made a note. From that day onwards, he started appearing in the living room without a shirt, giving you a full view and also enjoying your annoyed expression. He turned around suddenly and you instantly looked away as though you weren't just gawking at him with hungry eyes. He internally chuckled at your reaction, clearly amused. With a smirk on his face, he walked over and stopped in front of you. He feigned a yawn, stretching a bit, giving you a front row view. As he expected, you glanced over him. Your eyes enlarged slightly as your gaze lingered on his bare torso, and you choked on your tea. Jungkook's grin widened. Oh, how much he loved your reactions. He had never been so proud of spending hours in the gym. Hey, you okay? He asked, feigning innocence as though he wasn't just trying to race you with his charming looks. You nodded, trying your best to not look at him. He was dangerous for your poor heart. The best way to breathe in peace was to not look at him. But as though your eyes had their own mind, they always found their way on him and refused to move away. Jungkook shrugged nonchalantly, his lips pressed in a thin line, trying his best to not laugh at your reaction. He stretched again, groaning as his tense muscles made a cracking sound upon stretching. While you fixed your gaze on the wall, avoiding glancing at him. Still, you couldn't help but steal occasional glances at him, admiring him silently. But soon enough, the admiration faded, and you noticed something that flipped your expression from awe to annoyance. The maids had paused in their chores, stealing quick glances at Jungkook, and that was enough to pull you from any sort of daze. Jungkook noticed the shift in your expression. He looked at the maids, darting a cold glare at them. They shuddered under his pointed look and instantly moved away to resume their chore. Jungkook, you called, your voice clipped and annoyed. Could you please put on a shirt? He turned to you, eyes glinting with that playful look. What's the matter? He asked, completely feigning innocence. It's hot, don't you think? Hot, you scoffed, giving him a pointed look. Then go outside to cool down. But inside the house, it's not just you here. Your eyes narrowed in irritation, his indifference irking you even more. Why does this affect you? He teased, pointing at his abs. He took a few steps towards you, closing the space between you both with a cocky grin. You can admit it, I'm your husband. You got up as you watched him approaching closer. He stopped a few inches away from you. You could sense the heat radiating off his body, his closeness making you swallow in nervousness. You fisted your clammy palms, trying your best to not lose your ground. You crossed your arms, standing firm as he stood near you, his broad shoulders and amused expression giving you pause, but only for a second. Affected? Hardly. You replied, trying to sound indifferent but feeling your cheeks heat up. It's about etiquette. He chuckled, clearly not buying it. If it really bothers you that much, sweetheart, just say it. I'm all yours after all. That's not the point. You said flustered now, feeling like the one who had lost ground in this conversation. Look, just get a shirt. Your heart raced as he took a long stride towards you, closing the remaining distance within a heartbeat. His bare torso collided with your arm, sending jolts of electricity down your spine. His chest was hard and torn, and it made you wonder how it would feel to touch them with your hands. A sheer desire to feel the contours of his muscles beneath your palms arose within. But you were quick to compose yourself. You shook your head, discarding all the unholy thoughts that made room in your mind. The haze ebbed away slowly. How about a trade? He asked, pulling you back to reality. A trade? You repeated, your brows furrowing in confusion. He nodded. You give me a guess, he said, the mischievous spark in his eyes never dimming. And maybe I'll put on a shirt. Your breath hitched, hands dropped at your sides as you gaped at him with wide eyes. What? You started badly, blood rushing up to your cheeks. A kiss, he whispered, forwarding his cheek. Come on, sweetheart, don't be so shy. I'm your husband. You gulped, trying to keep your composure despite the heat rising up your neck. How can I? You said slowly, trying not to stutter. Why can't you, baby? Aren't you my wife? Don't I deserve a morning kiss from my wife? He arched an eyebrow, leaning down to your face level. Observing your expression, he could see you were shy and maybe a bit nervous, but he wanted you to open up to him, to shower you with love and get loved in return. He knew you were too shy to make the first move, so he was just making it easy for you. You stammered badly, trying to step away from him, but he curled his arm around your waist, holding you still in your previous spot. Come on, baby, it's not that hard, he mumbled, tracing a finger across your cheek. I'll close my eyes if you're too shy. You would, as he closed his eyes and forwarded his cheek towards you. Your face flushed as you licked your lips, mustering your courage to kiss him. Come on, man, it's just a peck on the cheek. You can do it. You encouraged yourself and slowly inched closer. His lips curved into a subtle smile as your lips collided with his cheek. You pulled back within a blink of an eye and hid your face in your palms. Jungkook opened his eyes and chuckled at your reaction. Now was that hard? Hima hummed, leaning closer. He tried to remove your hands from your face, but you resisted, too shy to face him. He chuckled and stepped back, finally letting you breathe in peace. He grinned, clearly enjoying every second of this. Well, now this is a good morning. He murmured, reaching out to gently brush a strand of hair behind your ear. And I'll put on a shirt now. He slowly removed your palms, but didn't dare to meet his eyes. But don't think I'm not aware of your reactions, okay? I've caught you staring once or twice. Your head snapped up at him, eyes widening in shock. He leaned a little closer, his voice low. And for the record, I like it when you get a little possessive. It suits you. Your breath hissed as he winked at you, his lips curving into a teasing smoke. Before you could respond, he stepped back and strolled back to the bedroom. He left you standing there, heart racing and cheeks flushed. But it wasn't just his words that lingered with you. It was that glimmer in his eyes, the hint of something more that made you realize maybe this arranged marriage wouldn't be so difficult to adjust after all. As the evening settled, Jungkook entered the quiet house, his exhaustion clear in a way, his shoulders sagged slightly, his eyes dimmed with weariness. It had been a long, draining day, one he was eager to leave behind the moment he walked through the door. He glanced around, hoping for a glimpse of you in the living room where he often found you in the evenings, but to his mild surprise, you weren't there. A maid approached, handing him a glass of water. "Where's my wife?" He asked, the words smoothly rolling off his tongue as though he was used to calling you my wife. "She's in the bedroom," she replied softly. With a nod, he took a long sip, gulping the water in one go. He handed the glass back to her and then quietly made his way to the bedroom. Stepping inside the bedroom, he again found himself alone, the faintest hint of your presence lingering in the air. Then he noticed the balcony door was cracked open, just enough to let in a gentle breeze. He crossed the room and stepped out onto the balcony. There you were, curled up on the small couch, sound asleep, a book loosely covering half of your face. The sight made him stop in his tracks, his lips curling into a small, tender smile. You must have been reading, and at some point, the calm of the evening and the quiet rhythm of the pages had lulled you to sleep. Jungkook moved closer, sitting down on the small table across from you, not daring to disturb the quiet. For a moment, he just watched you, admiring how peaceful you looked in sleep, the little furrow between your brows that you always had even when relaxed, and the way the evening light cast a soft glow over you. A part of him almost wished you would wake up just so he could see that look of surprise on your face when you found him watching over you. But he knew he shouldn't disturb you, not when you looked so calm and content. Reaching out carefully, he gently took the book from your face, marking the page before setting it aside. You stirred slightly, mumbling something intelligible, but settled back into a soft, even breathing. Jungkook chuckled under his breath, his rough day seeming to melt away just by watching you sleep. There was something about your presence, the quiet strength and warmth you brought into his life that made him feel at ease in a way he wasn't used to. Finally, he reached over, brushing a strand of hair out of your face with a feather-light touch. "You're going to be the end of me, you know that?" He whispered, almost as if confessing a secret, though he knew you couldn't hear him. "I can watch you all day and still won't be satisfied. What are you doing to me, wifey?" He chuckled at his own words, his eyes filled with the tenderness as he watched you sleeping peacefully. He leaned back, keeping his gaze on you as stars began to appear in the sky above. In that quiet moment, his tough exterior softened, and he allowed himself to simply enjoy the comfort of having you there beside him, even if you didn't know it yet. The weight of a gaze pulled you from the depths of sleep, and as you opened your eyes, you found yourself met with Jungkook's steady, soft smile. Blinking drowsily, you took a moment to register his presence, feeling a mix of surprise and warmth settle over you. "Oh," you mumbled, suddenly alert and sitting up with a little start. "You are home early." He didn't answer right away. Instead, his smile only deepened as he stood up from the table and moved closer, sinking onto the couch beside you. Before you could ask what he was doing, he stretched out and carefully lay down, resting his hand on your lap, eyes drifting shut for a moment as he settled into the comfort of the moment. Tiny shock ran through you, but it was nothing compared to the way your heart skipped when he opened his eyes, looking up at you with an expression so raw and so unguarded that it made you forget to breathe. I'm so tired, he murmured, his voice low and weary. Today was, it was a long day. The vulnerability in his voice made you pause, watching him for a moment as he nestled closer, resting his head comfortably against your stomach, one arm draped across your legs as if he couldn't bear to let go. The shock gave way to a quiet tenderness. You lifted a hand, hesitating for a heartbeat, then slowly began to thread your fingers through his hair. His eyes fell shut again, and you could feel the tension in his shoulders begin to ease as he relaxed under your touch, a faint sigh escaping him. For a while, neither of you spoke. The only sound was a gentle rustle of leaves in the evening breeze and the soft rhythmic brushing of your hand through his dark hair. His breathing slowed, deepening with each stroke of your fingers, his body unwinding completely as he snuggled a little closer, resting his cheek against your lap. As you continued to gently trace your fingers through his hair, you couldn't help but smile softly, marveling at the softer side of him. He was always so composed, so confident, and so often wrapped up in his duties and responsibilities. But right now, lying in your lap with a quiet vulnerability he rarely showed, he was just Jungkook, your husband, finding solace in a moment of peace. It was that non-existent side of him that none could reach except you. After a while, you felt his fingers slightly wrapped around yours, a small, grateful gesture as he drifted further into relaxation. You weren't sure how long you sat there like that, but you didn't mind it. At that moment, you knew he needed this, a simple, gentle reprieve from the harshness of this world. And maybe, just maybe, you needed it too. As the quiet comfort of the balcony lingered between you both, you gently nudged him. He lazily opened his eyes, looking up at you. Let's go and have dinner, you suggested. But instead of sitting up, he whined softly, burrowing his head further into your lap. No, not yet. I'm loving this feeling. He mumbled, his voice muffled and almost boyish, which made you smile. Jungkook, you said half scolding, but he just stayed put, a hint of pout crossing his face. How about a trade? He suggested, raising an eyebrow. You internally groaned. You still weren't over the morning trade and he wanted to do it again. God knew what he was up to this time. I'll have dinner only if you promise to pamper me later, he muttered, playing with the wedding band on your ring finger. Your lips twisted into a soft smile as he pressed his lips on it, packing it softly. Pamper you? You are not a kid, you replied, scrunching your nose. He looked up at you, slightly offended. Of course, I'm not a kid, but I'm your husband who is exhausted because he has a long day at work. Can't he expect a tiny bit of affection from his wife? Not even a little bit? His voice dropped octaves lower till the end, insinuating his tiredness. Drama king, you murmured to yourself. Fine, move your dinner first and everything else later. Fine, he sighed, finally relenting with an exaggerated reluctance. He sat up slowly, giving you one last soft look before following back inside. Together, you made your way to the bedroom. He began peeling off his jacket, moving towards the bathroom. As he reached the doorway, he paused, one hand on the frame. Glancing back over his shoulder, a mischievous smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. Are you coming? He asked, his voice filled with that familiar teasing edge. Coming where? You replied, a bit wary, but intrigued. He chuckled, eyes glinting with amusement. To join me in the shower? He answered, arching an eyebrow. You know, in case you wanted another chance to admire my abs. His grin widened, clearly enjoying his own joke, his gaze never leaving yours as he waited for your reactions. Your cheeks warmed at his words, instantly reminding you of the morning, and you roll your eyes, trying to mask your flustered expression. Oh, please, you replied, though your voice faltered slightly. I think you get enough admiration from everyone around here. He took a step forward, just close enough for you to feel the heat radiating off him, his voice dropping to a low murmur. True, he said, the teasing glimmer softening into something more serious, his gaze steady. But yours is the only one I actually want. His words hung in the air, and for a second you were at a loss of what to say. But before you could respond, he just winked, his playful demeanor slipping back on like a comfortable jacket. Think about it. He teased, disappearing into the bathroom with one last laugh. You stood there, your heart pounding a little faster than before, wondering what exactly you had gotten yourself into with this man. After dinner, Jungkook lay sprawled on the bed, looking completely at ease, his usual intimidating presence softened. There was something different in his eyes, a quiet warmth that hadn't been there before. This was new for him, being vulnerable, down his guard in the gentle comfort of your shared space. He wasn't used to these soft moments, this warmth, and he was surprised by just how much he liked it, how much he liked you. The tiredness of the day melted away as he waited for you to join him. There was something about this lying there, waiting for you, that made him feel than he had ever felt before. When you finally stepped out of the bathroom, dressed in a cozy shirt that was a little too big for you, you felt his heart skip a beat. You looked so natural, so soft and warm, and all he wanted was to hold you close. Without a word, you slipped into the sheets beside him, and before you could get settled, he shifted closer, closing the distance until his arm found its way around you. Blinked in surprise, feeling his warmth enveloped you as he pulled you closer, almost clinging to you. It was unlike him, this unexpected tenderness, this need to be close. You couldn't help but give him a curious look, wondering what had gotten into him suddenly. Jungkook, you murmured, the surprise evident in your voice. What happened to you? He looked at you, his gaze unguarded, the faintest hint of vulnerability beneath his usual confidence. I had a rough day, he admitted quietly, his voice so soft it was almost a whisper, and I need you to cuddle me. His eyes filled with a warmth you weren't used to seeing, and he let out a small, almost bashful smile, brushing a few stray hairs from your face. A warm blush rose to your cheeks as you took in his words. A gentle smile tugged at your lips. Without a second thought, you wrapped your arms around him, your fingers tracing small circles on his back, letting him relax into you. Drawing him even closer, your other hand found its way to his hair, gently threading through the soft strands. The silence that followed was comfortable, filled with the unspoken understanding that tonight he could let himself be soft, let himself simply be your husband. Jungkook closed his eyes, letting out a content sigh as he nestled against you, pressing his face into the crook of your neck. This is nice, he whispered, his voice warm against your skin. You felt a soft smile tugging at your lips as you rested your cheek against his hair, feeling his breathing calm beneath your touch. Minutes passed in peaceful silence, his arms wrapped around you, his fingers slightly tracing patterns on your back. Every now and then, he would let out a sleepy hum, nuzzling closer to you, and you couldn't help but giggle softly at how different he was from his usual tough self. Right now, he was just Jungkook, your Jungkook. After a while, he lifted his head, meeting your gaze with an intensity that took your breath away. His hand slowly reached up, his fingers tracing along your cheek, tucking a loose strand of hair behind your ear. You felt your heart race as his eyes softened, his thumb brushing against your skin, leaving a trail of warmth in his wake. His thumb stroked your cheekbone as he leaned in, his lips hovering over yours as if savoring the moment. Then, in one soft, tender movement, he pressed his lips to yours in a sweet, lingering kiss. It was gentle, almost shy, filled with a warmth that made you melt against him. You could feel the love and the trust in that kiss, a silent promise of all he felt but couldn't say. You could feel the rough edges of his world falling away in that kiss, his silent confession that he wanted this, wanted you. When he finally pulled back, his forehead resting against yours, his eyes stayed closed for a moment as if he were savoring the feeling. His arms wrapped more tightly around you, drawing you closer. The look he gave you was different now, filled with warmth and affection that made you realize just how much he was allowing you to see of him. His hand found its way to yours, interlocking your fingers as he gave your hand a soft squeeze. You don't know how much I needed this, he murmured, his voice filled with an emotion he didn't often let show. You smiled, giving his hand a gentle squeeze back. Maybe you should let me pamper you more often. You replied, a playful glint in your eyes as you ran a gentle hand through his hair. He chuckled softly, a real, genuine laugh that sounded almost foreign even to him. Maybe I will, if you are willing. He gave you a grateful look, his eyes softening as he leaned back slightly to study your face. Without warning, he let out a playful huff, leaning forward to press a light kiss on the tip of your nose, causing you to let out a small laugh. You are too cute, he murmured, his smile widening. I don't know how I got so lucky. You blushed, playfully rolling your eyes. You are not the only lucky one here, you replied, gently flicking his forehead, making him laugh, a sound so soft and genuine that it warmed you from the inside out. He pulled you even closer, tucking your head under his chin as he wrapped you up in his arms. Your legs tangled together under the sheets. You could feel his breath, slow and steady, and you smiled, feeling as though you had found a piece of home in his embrace. You lay there, tangled together in the quiet night. The closeness deepened. You shared whispered secrets, soft laughter, and a warmth that melted away the weight of the day. And when you both fell silent, it was a comfortable quiet, filled with the warmth of simply being in each other's arms. As the night grew deeper, he shifted again, pressing a soft kiss to your forehead. Good night, wifey, he whispered. His words, so simple yet filled with tenderness, made your heart skip a beat. Good night, Jungkook, you whispered back, resting your head against his chest. And with his arms holding you close, you fell asleep, wrapped in the warmth of a love that was only just beginning to bloom. And for the first time, you both felt a glimmer of something more. Something that wasn't just about the arrangement but about each other, about the comfort you found in each other's arms.